17 states are backing Texas in its lawsuit against battleground states. Texas alleges they mishandled the 2020 election, violating the Constitution. And the U.S. Supreme Court is giving the defendants until Thursday 3 p.m. to respond to the accusations. After that, the court might ask for more information, maybe it'll rule on the case, maybe it'll just throw it out. But a lawyer on the Trump team says this is the case they've been waiting for. Here's Jordan Seklo talking to Newsmax.
This is the case we've been talking about to reach SCOTUS. This is the outcome determinative case. 62 electoral college votes at stake, enough to change the outcome of the election.
He says it's all constitutional challenges Texas is bringing. The suit says the electors clause was violated when election rules were changed by a body other than the state legislature. Equal protection was violated by treating some voters differently than others. And even due process was violated when the defendant states relaxed their election standards, disenfranchising states like Texas that ran the elections lawfully. But we've seen so many cases thrown out at the state and the federal level. Will this be any different? Constitutional scholar John Eastman told Fox News he thinks it will. He says this case won't rely on evidence around things like the Dominion voting machines or affidavits. Instead, it asks one simple question. Did these states conduct an election in violation of their state law?
And when the Pennsylvania Secretary of State ignores those state statutes, sends absentee ballots out contrary to those state statutes, doesn't do voter identification or signature checking contrary to those statutes, those violations of statutes that were designed to prevent fraud are enough to trigger the federal constitutional violation that Texas has alleged.
And President Trump says his legal team will join the case. The technical term is he'll intervene in the case. But it'll still be up to the U.S. Supreme Court whether to deny or allow that. The president hopes lawmakers or judges have what he calls the courage to help him challenge election results in those key battleground states. He said, let's see if they have the courage to do what everybody in this country knows is right. And you might remember a truck driver called Jesse Morgan who came forward with information about election fraud. Well, he says after filing his affidavit, he was interviewed by federal agents. But he says the process felt more like an interrogation. In the affidavit, he said he moved a truck full of ballots in late October from Bethpage, New York to Pennsylvania. A federal crime, of course, moving ballots across state lines. But even worse than that, he says the ballots vanished from a USPS facility after he dropped them off. So the FBI, I'm sure, curious about the ballots, right? Nope. Morgan says they had no interest in the ballots.
I give this information, and then what they want to do with it, instead of investigating the information I gave, is go and start harassing my family, start asking questions of my family, how did I get here, or whatever, you know.
Morgan's affidavit is actually part of the Texas Supreme Court case. The FBI hasn't responded to our request for comment, nor has the USPS. And the Trump team and other attorneys say there are foreign ties behind the election systems used for voting in the election. We looked into it, and this is what we found.
The Epoch Times has uncovered foreign ties behind voting machines used in the United States. It found connections between three key voting systems companies: Smartmatic, Sequoia, and Dominion. Smartmatic was officially incorporated in the U.S. in 2000 and headquartered in Florida. But according to a leaked State Department document, Smartmatic allegedly had 30 anonymous investors and silent partners, mostly upper-class Venezuelans. Former top Venezuelan election official Ana Mercedes Diaz was fired in 2004 for publishing information about election fraud there. She says in Venezuela, the opposition was winning. The light went off, and when it came back, the results were flipped. I was following the U.S. election, and there came a moment where information stopped. Nobody knew what had happened. There was nothing for a few hours. It's exactly how Smartmatic operated in Venezuela. In 2005, Smartmatic bought Sequoia Voting Systems, which was based in California. The U.S. government investigated the takeover because of concerns that Smartmatic had ties to Chavez. In 2006, the Treasury Secretary asked whether Venezuela could use Sequoia to manipulate U.S. elections. Smartmatic refused to undergo a review and then sold Sequoia. But according to a 2008 lawsuit, Smartmatic still owns Sequoia's intellectual property. In 2010, Dominion bought Sequoia Voting Systems. Its statement was later scrubbed from the internet, but this copy was saved. Over 40% of American voters cast their ballots through the Dominion system this year. It's not clear if Dominion used Sequoia software in the recent elections. But Dominion and Smartmatic deny any connections to each other or to Sequoia. Smartmatic told the Epoch Times it hasn't worked with Dominion since 2009 in the Philippines. The Epoch Times visited Dominion offices in Denver and Toronto. Both appeared to be abandoned. Smartmatic denied entry to its office in Florida.
And I hope I don't get banned for saying this, but YouTube has a new policy that could allow it to block and remove content about widespread voter fraud and election errors. It claims it's because the safe harbor deadline for election challenges has passed and enough states have already certified the results. But the company's statement didn't acknowledge the outstanding legal challenges. The company says that any videos that specifically mention that widespread voter fraud or election errors change the election outcome will be removed. It says it will ramp up the policy in coming weeks. The company wants to instead guide people to information provided by corporate news outlets like ABC, NBC, and CNN. What about NTD?